Hey, how you doing? Hey guys, how you doing? Mowers and blowers here again. Today, my next door neighbor, well, he lives on the other side of the street, Scott. He brought over his snowblower. He says that when his neighbor was using it, oil started to leak out on the bottom, and it poured out, is what they said. And so it's a little unusual, you know, for oil to just pour out like that. So he stopped using it in fear of, you know, it causing any more damage to the engine components. This is a good snowblower. It's a Yardmachines made by Mtd. You guys know Mtd makes everything. Cub Cadet, Yardman, Yardworks, which is a Canadian company. Mtd makes good stuff. This is one of the ones prior to Tecumseh going out of business. It's an 8 horsepower, 24 wide, dual stage with a shovel. And as you guys can see, this is the 8 horsepower engine made by Tecumseh. Tecumseh, of course, as you know, has gone under, and some of the rights of its Snow King name, as well as Tecumseh designs and engineering, has gone to LCT Engines, which is a China-based company. And as far as I know, they didn't bring back that Snow King name yet, which is odd. Anyway, so I'm going to troubleshoot this. I just look at the oil level, which is right there, and it shows actually too much oil. This could be the culprit. However, I know that something else is wrong, because as he was pushing it over here, he could barely push it, because so it's obviously locked in gear, you know? It's not freewheeling at all. So I'm going to put it on its nose, on its face, if you will, and take off the bottom cover and check it out. But before that, I'm going to start it. It's got plenty of oil in it, so that should protect the engine. But we have to start it to see what's up with it, right? So I just tried to pull start it, probably 10 yanks, and it seems like it's difficult to pull. It sounds like that it could be hydrolocked. By putting too much oil over the fill valve, the oil will pour into the carburetor, and also the crankcase just filled with it, even the combustion chamber. So if there's oil filled in the combustion chamber, it's not going to start. But I'm going to give it a couple of cranks with the electric start and see what happens. Okay, so I don't see any evidence of any oil leakage after running it for a couple of minutes from electric start. However, it does surge quite a bit, causing the engine not to run smoothly and causing vibration, tremendous vibration that you know, makes a lot of noise. But I'm still going to lift it on its face. I'm pretty sure it's a carb clean. You know, the carburetor seems to be clogged, which is causing the surging. That fuel jet nut needs to be cleaned out because it's probably filled with gunk. There is some oil residue there, and from the complaint from the customer, it poured out. But that may have something to do with him, somebody filling the oil too much, right? And that also would cause the reason why it would be difficult to pull start it if it was filled with too much oil. However, it doesn't explain why it's difficult to move freewheel, you know? And it still doesn't. So I'll put it on its face, and we'll take that cover off and investigate. So, I have taken the cover off the snowblower, and you can see there is quite a bit of oil residue. So that oil appears to be coming from some of those bolts over there on top. The oil has leaked to the friction disc, which is not going to allow the this friction disc to it's you know, you can't have it oily here, and so it won't move well, and it won't blow well. Well, actually, it'll blow well because the belt was moving the friction disc, but it definitely won't move well. However, once I took the cap cover off, it seems very easy to move now. Freewheeling. So, did the cap have something to do with that? You know, the cover, I mean, that impeded some of the wires here. Now you see this here is very close to the axle. See, now, if this was up, it would touch here, and it would be difficult for you to push it or pull it. But it seems okay now. I'll investigate further. So I've just taken some detergent solvent and sprayed it on the friction wheel, and I have cleaned the drive wheel there. The rubber was all shiny before, now it's all dry. Runs smooth. Now I need to address the carburetor. So since it's up on the head right now, it runs, but it doesn't run well with the engine. So therefore I'm going to do a quick and dirty and take that jet off after I clamp off the fuel line so it doesn't flood this place, and take that float bowl off and check out the jet nut and see if it's clogged. That would be one of the reasons why it's surging. So I've clamped off the fuel line and put some rags underneath the carburetor, because the excess fuel will drip out. Alright, let's check out this bolt. The hole, the little tiny hole, is clogged. The big hole is a little bit, but you can still see through it, you know, so it's not terrible. But the little hole is definitely clogged, which was causing the surging. It's kind of dirty too. So you use one of these wires and stick it in that hole. So if you take a look, see that black thing right there on the end of it? That was what was blocking that little hole. That little blockage in that hole will cause it to surge, because that fuel, even though that small hole, can make such a big difference in the way it runs. So there's a big blob of oil stuck there. See the oil residue there? Also at the ends of the nut? That's not good. So it wasn't running well because of that. Hopefully this will have rectified that problem. So I put the plate back. Got the bowl back on. Carburetor is cleaned. And released the fuel line clamp. And we have no leaks, so it was done properly. Just check the oil again, and it is 3 times what it's supposed to be. So that's our problem, is that somebody filled the oil 3 times as what it's supposed to be. So I have to find a way to drain 2/3 of it. And it's going to be messy, because that is the oil drain plug. And so if it drains from here, oil is going to just drip down to here and cause a mess, unless this thing comes off to drain oil, which I'm going to try. But I'm going to start this baby up and see how it runs after that nut was unclogged. So I tried to primer it, and it just felt like it was just, you know, like no fuel was getting into the primer bulb. So I came down here, And this thing was so brittle that it just cracked. Right there. Gonna have replace this tube with a new one. I didn't have to replace it. I just cut off the end, and it was I rerouted it so it rerouted it on top of the fuel line, so it had enough slack to be reconnected over there. So that's good to go. Now it'll prime good. Goes. Even idles well at low idle. Running great. I saw this vibrating, so I wanted to tighten it, but it doesn't tighten. It's stripped. This bolt here is stripped. I'm going to have to replace that bolt. So actually, the bolt is not stripped. It's stripped on the inside. See, so the engine is made up of softer metal than a screw. So as you can see, the inside housing of the engine block has stripped, not the bolt. The bolt itself is good. So basically I have to get that residue off the screw, and I'll put a piece of Teflon tape in there to see if that'll hold. There. Now you can see the threads well. Just took a wired brush and cleaned it. So I just drained out almost 2/3 of that oil. Dude. It's completely disgusting, man. I think I'm just gonna give him an oil change. I have to go get some 10W30 oil, but I mean, I think it needs it, man. That oil is trash, you know. Put some fresh oil in there for him, and that's it. There's so much damn oil in here that it filled all that up. It's still going, man. This oil is trash. Gonna put some fresh 10W30 in there after I go buy some. Alright, so it's about an hour later. I went to Walmart to get some 10W30. I needed some anyway. Anyway, man, I just put in half a quart or somewhere about that. I'm gonna check the level. But can you believe it, man? It had over a quart and a half in this thing. That's way too much. It only needs about half a quart in this snowblower. So I take that back, man. It was actually almost a quart that I put in there. Anyway, so it took some doing. But now the oil is clear, clean, and right on the money balls. Alright, so this has had an oil change. Fix this bolt thing here that tighten this thing. It's not the right bolt, but when it's stripped, you do anything to keep it together, you know. So now it's nice and tight. Carburetor was cleaned. Clean the friction disc. So now it's good to go, man. Anyway, see you guys next time on Mowers and Blowers.